Welcome to Eye Level to High Level, where real talk meets real results. I'm Jimmy Rios, and each week we break down the mindset, money moves, and strategies you need to elevate your life and business. Let's level up. Welcome to the Eye Level to High Level podcast. This is Jimmy Rios. I'm the founder and host of the Eye Level to High Level podcast with Rios Business Advisors. Today, we are having our second episode with Rapheal Rhoden. He's our amazing CFO that comes with a lot of experience, and we're just bringing it very real to everybody that's out there listening, because a lot of people think that this business of being an entrepreneur is very easy, and how do you run a company, and there's just a lot of different nuances, and so bringing somebody like Rapheal into the mix to break it down and make it very real is very good. You need to hear from others that are going through it, that have achieved a certain level of success and a lot of failure in their trajectories, and so we get it from a different perspective. And I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce Rapheal again. Rapheal, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Jimmy. Thanks for having me again.
Man, it's so good to have you. I know you're not here in Arizona. Tell us where you're calling from.
I'm actually calling in from Dallas,
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 Texas.
Texas.
That's awesome,
Uh,
man. How do you think Dallas is going to do this year?
I
You don't want to talk about it?
don't know.
We'll talk
Maybe,
about it
maybe, maybe,
later.
maybe if we could trade Jerry, we'll be great.
Yeah, that's great. We'll talk about it later, man. Hey, so I wanted to dig this in this episode and really dive into what you do, right? And then I'm going to pick your brain a little bit and play with this episode a little bit. I think it's exciting in life when we're able to go to different levels, right? And in the trajectory of life, right? We don't
Hmm.
we don't we don't believe in complacency. We talked a little bit about that on the last show. We believe in getting
For
rid of
sure.
fears and taking calculated risks, right? So, as CFO, Chief Financial Officer of Rios Business Advisors, tell us how you balance risk and opportunity, and how does your approach in decision making affect the firm? Give us kind of a little breakdown on how you do that.
So, in any and everything that you do, you have to have some type of risk assessment. Um, the thing is, with what we do, we understand that every move that we make is in some way affecting the lifeblood of any business, for our client. So, we want to make sure that overall, we're taking care of our business, but then also we're taking care of the businesses for our clients. In doing that, we have to make sure that every move that we're making is something that's going to be substantial in the sense of we want to be conservative in one hand, but also sometimes you have to go back in order to move forward.
Right.
I like to say, kind of like that vision of a rubber band. Sometimes you
Yeah.
got to pull it back and get some resistance in order to spring forward. So,
Right.
but that's where eye level to high level comes in. I
Right.
feel like the anytime someone says something is too good to be true is because they don't have full knowledge of how this can show in their life. So what we do is we try to educate our clients on different ways in which we can work this out for them, traditionally, non-traditionally, so
Right.
that we can all get the desired income and desired outcome.
Right. Uh,
Because there's no it's not a desired outcome unless there's some sort of income, right?
right. Right. Now you've worked with other companies, big and small. You've had your own businesses, and what now that you've had some time under your belt in working with us, what would you say sets Rios Business Advisors and Rios Business Funding apart from other funding or financial advisory firms out there?
Usually you have someone who specializes in lending, but anyone can put someone in debt, or you have someone who specializes in investing. So Rios has been able to marry the two industries in a way in which a client can come to the table. be able to take advantage of both and go through that process completely debt free. So
That's
I feel
huge.
like I feel like that's really where our bread and butter is, and that's what we're providing to the marketplace that no one has ever seen before.
Yeah, man. I talk about how sometimes, like, I use analogies a lot, and when you think about wanting to go build a house, you have this vision of what your house is going to look like, right? It's
Hmm.
got to have this. It's going to have this pool. It's going to have a whatever winding stair, whatever that vision is, right? But nobody tells you or would think to build a house and not have a blueprint to be able to build it. And that blueprint has to have all the measurements and all the different people that are involved to make it happen, all the contractors and the different services and trades and all the, what do you start with? How deep is your concrete and the foundation got to be, all these
Yeah.
details, right? All you think about is, I just want it to look like this. And you have this
Yeah.
vision, right? And we started building on this business model, and there was a lot of different moving parts to make it happen. And in doing so, Brian and I came to a position in our trajectory in building this out where we felt that we needed a CFO, a Chief Financial Officer. For those that are out there that consider themselves a small, medium-sized business, what could you, what advice could you give them in the importance of what a chief financial officer inside of their corporation or business can do for them, right? As a needed piece of the puzzle, so to speak, to really help them get to the next level. Why, right? One of the biggest things people say is like, I don't need that right now, I'll do it myself. But why is that a mistake in thinking that way? Give us a little of your perspective on that.
A lot of times you have to have someone who comes in who gives you a fresh set of eyes and offers some degree of cost cutting, because a lot of times, especially when you're an entrepreneur, you get shiny object syndrome, in which you feel like, oh, let me just go splurge on this and then I'm gonna get it back, because a lot of times entrepreneurs are huge risk takers. They're
Yes.
used to just going out and gambling so that they can get a return. So you want to
Right.
make sure that somebody comes in that's knowledgeable of overseeing their AR, their AP, understanding, what's good risk versus bad risk, good debt versus bad debt, and that can guide you through making those decisions so that you can overall be successful in your business.
Right. Now, your story is a little different, right? In working with RBA, because tell us how that trajectory came about in coming to work with RBA as a partner, because you didn't start out with RBA as just the chief financial officer. Tell us a little
No,
bit
not at
about
all.
that. Yeah.
So, to kind of make a very long, depressing story short, about a year ago, I came to the realization that I just no longer wanted to be in corporate America. I saw some signs, and I knew that I needed a break. I needed to step away and really just figure out what Raphael wants to do in life. And there's a way that God kind of opens your eyes to certain things. And during that time, I had one of my teammates to actually unalive herself. So while being out, for you to find out something like that happened due to the stress or whatever the case was going on in their life, then it kind of gives you a new perspective on really what do you want to do. So at that point, I knew that I was working on my exit strategy. So as soon as I came back, I'm like, let me go ahead and build out this real estate portfolio, replace my income, fully, and just step out there so that I know, if all else fails, I have this coming in every month to take care of all of my expenses. So literally, as I'm going through programs, figuring out how to build my business credit, joining investment groups, learning all of these things to make sure that I was in the right position in order to invest in this real estate, I'm on a meeting and Brian shows up on the
Wow.
meeting. So as he was explaining the program with a background in finance, I'm like, that's interesting. So how did this work?
Right.
So I just kept asking questions and asking questions, and he had an answer for every question. And after that conversation, I was like, this may be something that I can look into.
Right.
And it worked out so well because literally when I got into the program, I want to say 30 to 45 days later, the house that I was working on, it was about 80% complete. I'm getting, I say in a matter of a week, I had three people reach out about moving into this property.
Wow.
So all of a sudden, I need
Stars
access
align.
to some funds in order to finish out the renovation. So
Right.
at that point, I'm making withdrawals and stages so that I could complete the renovations on the property. So by the end of that month, I was able to get the clients or the tenants into the property. Um, Once someone's in the property was vacant for about 2 months in this particular, not too much, 2 years, this particular property. So you don't know what's wrong with it until you have tenants in the property.
That's right.
So then all of a sudden there's other expenses and stuff. Had I not invested at the time that I invested, I could have easily, you know, over leveraged myself,
Right.
easily ran through my savings and did a lot of things. So like I said, the stars just really aligned. And then once everything was settled with that property and my other properties, I was able to really start making some serious decisions as far as exiting corporate America.
Right.
And at that point, like I said, conversations started being had, and Brian knew that I was looking to step away. So he was like, we may need to have a conversation about your next move. So,
That's amazing.
you know,
I
so it's like
so
all the stars aligned.
yeah, that's amazing. I mean, not every day do you get to participate and partake inside of a program, and then have the opportunity to really get invited. To take this. I mean, it is a risk in anything that you do, but an opportunity as well. To take yourself to another level in success in life and in learning, and you've already met a lot of people. It's opening up doors in so many ways that you probably never thought were even available to you. And so it's exciting to see that happen in your life. From being a client, right? Still, but even a
Yeah.
client on the technical level and seeing that part of it, to becoming a part of the organization and giving back and seeing and helping in the mechanics of making those things work. Which leads me to my next question, which is the eye level to high level program is a signature part of our RBA, of Rios Business Advisors. From your perspective, how has it influenced the company's growth?
It has influenced the company's growth tremendously. The effect that we're able to, and I don't know if we're going into numbers, but the effect that we're able to, that we've been able to provide for our clients
Right.
is phenomenal. You
Yeah.
know, I haven't seen anything to be for a program to be created in the timeline in which it was created to where, we are today. I haven't seen that type of growth from any other company out there, especially in the funding space.
Right.
Without major money behind them for advertising. And the most beautiful thing about this is that 2/3 of our business is coming from referrals.
Right.
So you do
That's
something
huge.
right for one person, and then that person is going to go out and tell somebody else.
Right.
So that speaks volumes to the numbers. If we
Right.
have 2/3 of our business actually coming from word of mouth,
Yeah.
so I'm like I said, I come from a background of ministers. So my dad's a pastor. Both my parents have always been in ministry. So I always have a heart to want to help people, and I know that finance is one of the things that separates classes, races. There have been so many things over the years that where people have been redlined, literally blocked out based off from opportunity, based off of information.
Right.
So for us to have a program like this where you're getting high level financial strategies and bringing them down to the eye level so that the everyday person can take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you want to walk through that door? Why wouldn't you want to take part in something that's going to change your not just your life, but your legacy?
No, that makes total sense. I mean, it's the law of reciprocity at its finest. Over the weekend, on Saturday, actually, I had the opportunity to sit with a bishop of a local church in Maricopa, in Arizona, who is, building, little by little, he's building his church. And, the call was made probably towards the beginning of the year when we officially started talking about trying to help the church. And for one reason or another, right, and like it happens with a lot of our clients, they waited and, they wanted to do some due diligence and they wanted to kind of, do those things and wait. And at some point, as I met with them, they made a comment that, we wish we would have started earlier, right? And I've heard that before because through their due diligence and just from their own knowledge, it came to a point where they finally had to, face that fork in the road. Where am I going to go from here? I've built a congregation that is, working out of an auditorium at an elementary school. I want to take this and grow it bigger, right? Because he's getting, more people coming that want to hear the word, but he needs more space. And if you're in an area like Maricopa that lacks that type of space, then you don't have many options but to build on or find somebody that has authority and understanding in how to do that. And at some point, I think he felt comfortable enough to come to the advisors, right? To say, hey, I need help, and this time I'm ready, right? One thing I pride ourselves in doing is not force-feeding anybody this, right? Because all we can do is give you the information and then hope that at some point you're going to want to take on that chance for yourself in seeing how it can work in your life. What I love about it is that everyone that has come through our program has gotten something positive from it, right? Some will go faster, some will go slower, some will make mistakes in the process, but we'll still guide them to be able to get to the other side. I always use the analogy of it's like having that pot at the end of the rainbow, right? And if you have a pot at the end of the rainbow, I can only imagine the little leprechaun, running and looking up at this little rainbow and just getting to the end and enjoying all the riches. I tell people like this, I said, stay focused. Don't look up at the beautiful colors of that rainbow. Stay focused on the ground and that pathway that keeps you going towards that pot. When you get to the pot, look up and enjoy all the beauty that's that rainbow, all those colors. Because now you've just made it, right? Now you've done it. Right? Everybody's trajectory is different, but if you don't take that first step in that pathway, you're not going to do it. We've become beacons of hope for a lot of people looking for answers that they just don't know who to turn to, right? The beauty of being an advisor in a role where it's not just one product, right? It's not just mortgages or loans or credit. It's a conglomerate of different services so we can pivot and quarterback like on a team, right? And if I have to give it off to my tight end, I'll give it to my tight end. If I go to my running back, I'll go to my running back. We have experts in every field so that we can feel comfortable and saying, look, your case study is a little different. It looks like you need this, right? And have conviction and confidence that we're guiding them in the right direction, right? That says a lot, right? Because a lot of people, they get held back. The barriers of entry get put up really high when you go to do something and say, well, it's going to cost you $150 an hour. Well, I can't afford $150 an hour. I can't even afford $50 an hour for that matter, right? But if we work in the way we do, where we're basically on contingency, we put up or shut up, in a sense, because we don't get compensated until we get you the money, right? Show me the money. And once you get that money deposited, we invoice for our fees for helping you get there. And we don't just stop there, right? The blueprint of success that I talked about earlier is very much in action in everything that we do. Because when you say, well, I want to buy some real estate, right? Yeah, we can get you real estate. That's not the problem, right? We have the tools to do that. But what is it that you're going to do with that real estate? Well, I want to develop. I want to build a strip mall, and I want to put 50 businesses in there, whatever that is. How are we going to do it? Do you have a plan? Have you looked at your financials? What's your exit strategy? Do you have an estate
Exactly.
plan? Have you gotten any life insurance for yourself? What if this happens? What if that happens? Like, nobody talks to you that way. If they did, they'd be better positioned, because unfortunately, as entrepreneurs, we do it backwards. We bootstrap,
Yeah.
meaning we go head first with our idea, and maybe we're the best mechanic in the whole world. Well, we go in thinking we're going to keep, servicing all these clients, when in essence we run out of clients, we hit a wall, we didn't market, we didn't do some of the things we need to. Now we have, some debt, and we don't know how to pay it because we don't know how to keep the clients coming in, right? So it's
Yeah.
something that we have to be very cognizant and have a lot of responsibility to our clients to understand that, if you want to use us as just your broker and you just want to get your money and run, well, you can do that too. I'm not going to tell you we're not going to help you because you don't follow our path or blueprint or whatever. We're going to help you in whatever way you need help. But if you're smart, you're going to take the time to go slow to go fast. Properly construct your plan, with a little bit of help, and now you're better positioned to do all the things that money can do for you, as opposed to maybe getting a big bucket of change, and 6 months later you come back and you say, I need more money. Well, what happened to the money I gave you 6 months ago? Because that's how it used to be.
Exactly.
For my business, it was great. People would keep coming back for more money. But I felt a deficiency in responsibility because I felt that they weren't being guided and led properly. I felt that they would just get the money and run. And I was like, they didn't do a business plan. They didn't get their bookkeeping or accounting or whatever done. And that's why they keep chasing their tails month in and month out. If nothing changes, nothing changes. And that's the insanity of everything that we talk about, right?
Yeah. I want to
So
touch on one of the things that you said,
please,
as as far as that rainbow.
yeah,
If let's look back at the people that Noah said a storm was coming, and
right,
they decided not to get on the boat. You know, we see what's going on with the government. We see everything that's changing around us. You know, we provide the information for people, but it's really up to them to
right,
take advantage of it. Like you said, a lot of times people don't look at things like life insurance. Prior to being here, I worked with and shout out to Dr. Lowe and Lead with Love agency. We worked with a lot of clients as far as building out life insurance
right,
and legacy planning, but it would break my heart when someone had absolutely nothing that they could put aside in order to even go down that route. So
right,
when this opportunity came, this is the opportunity for us to essentially set people up in order to create legacy for
right,
their family. So, but the only way to do that is by, like you said, they have to put it on paper. They have to have that plan. They have to see not just living for the weekend, but two, three generations down the line. You know,
right.
so that's one of the strategies that I love that we're able to do. And it's not just getting the funding, getting them debt free. We want to make sure that if you're not in a position, we can get you the credit counseling that you need. We can, once you go through the program, we can work out legacy planning for you. We can make sure
That's
that
right.
you have trust set up. We can do every aspect of this from beginning to end to make sure that not only your success, but your family is going to be successful long after you're gone.
And let me tell you, man, I always say I'm the walking, talking billboard to my product, right? To everything that we do. If there's anybody that has ever taken negatives into positives, it's probably me, right? Because I took my health for granted, in my earlier stages in these years, and it wasn't until very recently that I started getting really strong and changing my diet and my habits, right? These negative habits, turning them into positive habits. But one of those things that really opened my eyes was when I was trying to get life insurance, right, for my kids,
Uh,
for myself, meaning my kids, and helping them if something were to happen to me. And the only people I could insure at the time were my kids, right? I could only get life insurance for them because unfortunately my health record was so bad, nobody would insure me. I became uninsurable, right?
Wow.
But let me tell you, from that experience and feeling dejected or rejected, right? And I still went through and got my kids their insurance, and 3 years later, I used the money from the insurance policy as cash value to start my own platform in this investment. This investment over the course of the last 8 months has given me over $200,000, which in turn, coupled with the compound effects of me working out and eating better and doing the things that I did, when I teamed up with one of my partners, Josh Norris at Arrive Financial, and he comes back and gives me the good news that I got approved for my IUL, right? And I was like, I got goosebumps because here I
Yep.
was, years of denials, right? Of no, 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 to all of a sudden, and I'm diabetic, right? Type 2.
Hmm.
I mean, they look at my record, they saw the record of cholesterol, high blood pressure, diabetes, right? I wasn't the lightest. And
Yep.
then look at all these things, and all of a sudden, he's like, "Guess what? We got you approved." I'm like, "What?" Like that was like it rang, and I just to be able to say I could take from my platform, right, and be able to pay the whole year off of premiums, so that I know that
Yep.
my kids, not only are they protected, that now we have a legacy, we have a trust, a holdings company. It's all sitting in there now, fully funded from the efforts of what we did with the eye level to high level program. Right? That's a that here September 19th. We are going to be doing the Legacy Makers show, and we're going to be getting videotape to go on one of the streaming platforms, right, to talk about the eye level to high level story, the Jimmy Rios story. And this is part of that trajectory, is what I want people to understand, that never let anything hold you down because things can change. You got to start changing on your own. You got to be the catalyst to change, but seek others that are going to be able to help you get there. If it wasn't for you, if it wasn't for Brian, Maria Hardick, my wife, Sylvia, my brother Johnny, all these people that are in my circle that we put together to help in their own way, I wouldn't be here today having this conversation with you, talking about the opportunities that we can help others, right? But we start with ourselves. Put on the mask
For
first
sure.
so we can then help others. Man, this is great. I wish we could do more time, but of course, we got our friends back here waving, hey, saying we got to go. So so that's what we're going to do, guys. We're going to bring another incredible show again to you. I had to bring the best of the best to the show to talk about some of the real things that we talk about, what we go through, throw some incredible gems of information out there that Raphael threw at us today, and in the two segments that we taped. And again, Raphael, thank you for being a part of this journey with us. Thank you for helping so many people and for helping us in what we're doing. I can only say thank you, and please, for those listening, go ahead and give your final words of wisdom that I think everybody would appreciate.
Yeah, like I said earlier, or I alluded to earlier, man, your network is your net worth. So I want to say thank you as well because, like, when I made this transition, it was it could have went a lot of different ways, but one thing that I knew for sure is that I was doing it with people who were capable of making some real changes in the world. And my goal for Rios Business Advisors is for us to be synonymous when it comes to business funding. So you don't just call a car when you need a ride. It used to be a taxi, but now you call an Uber. So when it comes
Yeah,
time for you to find someone who's essentially gonna fund your dream, I want you to be able to say, "Hey, I want to go to Rio's Business Financing, Business Funding, or Rio's Business Advisors. I want to take part in eye level to high level." So,
that's
that's
right.
my dream for the company, and I'm just glad to be on this journey with both you and Brian. So,
I
and the
always
rest of the
say,
team.
Raphael, I always tell everybody that there's nowhere to go. When you hit rock bottom, there's nowhere to go but up, right?
For
So
sure.
let's take ourselves from the eye level to the high level, and let's help each other get to the next level. Thank you for being with us today on the Eye Level to High Level podcast. We'll see you on the next one. Keep leveling up. We'll talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in to Eye Level to High Level. If you're ready to rise above the average, subscribe, share, and follow us for more ways to take your grind to greatness. Until next time, keep pushing higher.